someone told me they've this way, the replay is available as well. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. If you were here yesterday, yesterday was all about resetting your routines. If you haven't watched yesterday, I'm not repeating pretty much anything, like everything is new each day, but I do want to say like this is a 3 day, so it kind of like builds on each other. If you haven't watched day one, I would definitely encourage you to go back and watch it. It was all about routines, setting up yourself for success. We talked a lot about, I would say, the mistakes that I see a lot of people make. Like they get into these habits and then they kind of not exactly set themselves up for failure, but don't set them up for the best possible success. So those routines are the things that you do every day to set yourself up for success. We talked about the idea of a morning domino, and we talked about the idea of a nightly downshift. So, two different things that you do morning and night to kind of anchor your day in healthy habits. And I'll move ahead. Um, I'll move ahead and talk about those in just a minute. I'm going to mention the accountability thread, just some housekeeping items. And so we'll get to that in a moment. But focusing on today, today is about fueling for all day energy. And specifically, we're going to talk a lot about carbs because I think there's a lot of confusion about carbohydrates in general. People either are afraid of them or they don't understand them. And so it leads to kind of under eating. But we'll talk about all the food groups because there isn't just a single food group that is important. They're all important in the right portions. And we're going to talk about that. That's really our topic for today. Yesterday was the 5 pillars of fast and easy weight loss. So that was kind of grounding in those routines. And then, by the way, tomorrow is an awesome day. What your body needs to release weight. So, how do you actually go about doing this? And as you might well imagine, it is not overnight. It's not something that's a quick fix. It's not something you can like do in a week and you're there. It's more of a journey that takes time. And so 90 days, I would say, is kind of the minimum. My program, when I work with people either in my group setting or in my one-on-one setting, I say it's a minimum of 16 weeks to really see progress because truly, like, life happens and you might totally fall off for a week or you go out of town or like in what's happening right now and relevant in the world. Like people are heading back to school with their kids, or maybe they're teachers, maybe you're a teacher, and heading back to work. Those are all like shifting. And so as the seasons change, like we sometimes get a little derailed, but it's a journey for a reason. We are meant to keep moving forward, even when things aren't perfect. And that's never the expectation is to have perfection, but having the knowledge to keep making good decisions, even if it's 80% good, 70% good, right? But moving in that direction because little baby steps are still steps moving forward. So we'll talk about that. And tomorrow, by the way, today I'm chatting at 12 o'clock Eastern time. Tomorrow is at 2 o'clock Eastern time and also 8:30 Eastern time. So I'm doing two different sessions tomorrow. You can come to both if you want. It will be a repeat tomorrow, but there might be like different snippets and definitely value to get. But tomorrow it's a good day. Like you definitely want to come tomorrow. So making sure that you block at least one of those times out or time to watch the replay. All right. So let's go ahead and jump in. So this is similar to what I talked about yesterday. I always like to relate this and talk in honestly in words that you are probably using. This is what I hear so often. And so if you were here yesterday, you'd be like, yeah, I said this yesterday, or this is still true. Um, but I'm curious for those people, especially those of you that are here live, can any of you relate to this? So, are you wired at night? You can't fall asleep, your mind's racing, but when you wake up, you are tired. You are having trouble just when you wake up, you aren't fully awake. You're still kind of dragging in the morning. When you get to the afternoon, and especially focusing in on energy today, that afternoon crash is real. So maybe you need caffeine to get through, you have big sugar cravings, you need sugar to get through, or you're crashing Okay, so those are the two that I'm really curious about is like those energy levels, but maybe some of these resonate with you as well. Whether you have a lot of stress going on, you're still gaining weight even though you're eating healthy, bloating, digestive, inflammation, brain fog, cravings, any of those absolutely um, are what I typically hear. Yeah, stress, all of it. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Cheryl, welcome. I see you just entered. Feel free to jump into the chat. What I asked is, can you relate to any of these things that are up there? Can you say like, oh wow, like this is definitely something that I'm feeling and have a lot going on. Particularly those top two bullets. Like that's what we're talking about today is a lot of this energy of like feeling tired all day, feeling run down, having like that just afternoon slump. Those are definitely really common, and we're gonna dive into why you are probably seeing that today. Okay. This one, if you were here yesterday, this is a bit of a repeat because I really want to give you some context of this idea. Like I have dealt with all of these things. Like I have said all of these words that come right out of my mouth, and I've done a lot over honestly years and years to try and figure this out on my own. I actually worked with a couple different health coaches or fitness coaches, very different from the method that I'm kind of teaching now. They were both very macros based. And they were like, you need 100, like I'm 5'0", and they were like, you need 150 grams of protein. And that was like, that was a lot. And I was like, I can't do it. And so I found myself eating a lot of protein bars and a lot of like protein shakes. And that's kind of how I made it work. Um, but that this idea of whole foods, which we're going to jump in and talk about balanced plates, we're going to talk about actual like needing carbs, like that was not very well explained to me. And so I'm trying to like get that over, like get that across to everyone is like it doesn't have to look like a one size fits all approach. It should be custom according to your goals. It should be custom according to your lifestyle. And so I always use this picture as much as like I hate bringing this picture up because I think it helps you understand that I have been where you might be right now or somewhere along your that continuum, if you will, like of that journey. And I have done a lot of things between here and there to educate myself, to see results myself, to heal and focus on not just like truly not just the number on the scale, although that is what I'm including because it's like it's an easy way to see, oh wow, look, you lost 20 pounds, 30 pounds. Um, and that's a good way to see wins. But that's for me, that wasn't the goal. It wasn't the number on the scale. It was feeling stronger. It was showing up with a lot more energy and definitely talking about the energy today, being able to honestly get sick less, feel run down less, feel better when just like I show up and like I put clothes on and they fit right, like feeling better in that sense as well. So those are the things that when I will talk about some non-scale victories and I'll share some of these with you that my clients have seen, but like to me that's way more important than like a number and the weight loss, the fat loss itself. But really getting to this point of feeling good. So I always ask, switching out of the like physical like proof, if you will, like showing that picture, seeing the numbers, and we're gonna switch into this gear of mindset for a few minutes and talking about feeling enough because sometimes, truly, when we don't feel enough, like we're not as far along in our career or at work as we wanted to be, we're maybe not hitting the promotions or getting paid what you want, or like whatever it is career-wise, or you never have enough downtime. You are always go, go, go. You're always busy. Or perhaps you feel like you've never done enough around the house. Like, I don't know, as women, we kind of have like this duality of, well, I'm supposed to have a career and I'm supposed to also potentially be a mom and I'm supposed to keep the house up and everything's supposed to be like all of these like nice images of what it is. And then we like don't feel enough because we're never perfect like we see on social media or like we might see on, I don't know, Pinterest or whatever. Like here's this beautiful laundry room, for example. I always look at the laundry room and I'm like, I hope no one looks at my laundry room because folding laundry is the bane of my existence, and I have to like force myself. It's Friday night. I sit down on Friday night. I'm like, I gotta fold laundry, and we watch a movie, and I like make it work. But like in between, I'm like, I've never done enough laundry. There's always something to do. So this idea of mindset is important. It's just as important as the physical food on your plate. And so I am starting to talk about this more because I've realized a lot of fitness coaches, a lot of health coaches, they're just like, "Oh, well, here's your portions and here's your exercises and do this." And I think that's a big part of what I do differently. I talk a lot about mindset. In my program, I have a course in there to go in and talk about mindset. Like we talk about limiting beliefs and old conditioning. We talk about systems, creating systems. We find ways to find joy back to passion, like things you actually care about and things that you like doing, because those things are honestly just as important as the food on your plate and the little micro decisions like gaining enough water every day. Like those things are equal, I would say, in my book. And so this feeling of enough shows up in your life usually when we're like binge eating because you feel like no matter what, you eat this food and it's never enough. You never feel full, you never feel satisfied. So that's where the food noises come from. That's where the binge eating comes from. That's where maybe you've been like really good all week and then the weekend comes and then you go to a party like or summer like we just probably you probably had a lot of barbecues or backyard get-togethers and you go to these and then you're like binge eating like you can't stop grazing and snacking and that's truly a mindset like if you felt full if you felt satisfied it comes in two prongs. Like it's a mental game. And then we're going to talk a lot about the physical, like things that you can do, kind of these strategies that you can do in order to feel full because you are fueling yourself. And so when I talk today, know that it's kind of this double-edged sword, even though I'm giving you very practical, like nutrition tips, right? Like that's what we're talking today. But know that it is also a mindset piece. And so I don't have a full day dedicated to it, but I wanted to like mention it. I wanted to bring it up today. Hopefully that is helpful to you. If it is, like, feel free to put it in the chat. You can also, by the way, send it to just me. You don't have to send it to everyone, but like, yeah, if that is helpful to you, kind of like reframing things, I'd love to hear it. And for that reason, here's our first activity. This is actually coming out of your workbook. Um, Cheryl, I'll send it again. I don't think you were here when I sent the file the first time, but I'll go ahead and send the workbook file just so you can have it as like a quick access point. In the workbook, this is actually the first page of day two. And you might not feel burnt out. Like that might not be the word you're using. You might say stressed. Okay, no problem. Um, Mindset is just as important to reset because that emotional weight is something like people don't really talk about. There's not a real easy fix it strategy, but this is how we also will measure our success and our progress and how we stay disciplined on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. So I want you to think of if you don't want to use the word burnout, change it to stress, change it to overwhelm, whatever. So where are you stuck in this thinking? And I want you to just make a quick check mark, like super quick, and you can do it on the screen, like you can do it on a blank sheet of paper. I want you to think, if I can't do it perfectly, I'm just not going to start. I'll wait. Maybe you'll wait till January 1st, right? It's almost September. You're going to wait 4 more months till January 1st. Or, I don't want to start because I'm always going to like fall off. I'm never going to be perfect. I don't even want to start because I'm never going to be perfect at it. I'm going to fall off the wagon. I just don't have the energy to dedicate to this to take care of myself. Or I don't know what to do. So I don't do anything. I just, keep going. And there's no point if you don't see results right away. Okay. And checking this off, you have it in your workbook. So I'm going to go back 2 slides. And I'm going to show you this picture. This picture was taken a year and a half apart, right? 30 pounds over a year and a half. Um, what's that, 18 months, right? So it's like, if you look at it, it's like a pound a month. If you were to be like, oh, Yeah, that's not a lot. But at the same time, it's actually substantial when you look at things in the long term. And so you might, there we go. You might feel these, I think logically, we come up with all of these excuses. And I'm curious if you checked any of these off. Let me know in the chat. Like, did you check at least one off? Did you check all five off? If you have these feelings, you are, I would say, in the vast majority of people. Most people just don't start and they come up with these excuses and they come up with these reasons. Hi Harriet, by the way, welcome. This is right from the workbook. We're jumping into it for our first activity. And they it's a form of like perfectionism, and you have these like perfectionist ideas, and it really gets in the way. It's a fancy way of looking of procrastinating, truly. It's a fancy way of procrastinating. Yeah, if you don't know what to do, yeah, um, you might not know where to get started. Okay, so when you have, I would say, I would call these all limiting beliefs. And you can go down in the workbook. It's like, well, how do we flip the script? How do we turn them into affirmative sayings of like, oh, well, I will figure out what to do. I am really good at figuring things out, so I'm going to find a way no matter what. I really prioritize my health, so I'm going to find a way no matter what. I'm going to find the energy to take care of myself because I know when I take care of myself, I show up for everyone else better. I have kids, and I used to think they're young, they're like 5 and 7, but when they were younger, I was like, I can't take a shower. I can't take a shower. Someone's gonna cry and someone's gonna need me. And I'm like, looking back, I'm like, but why did I think that? Like, my husband is fully capable of watching them. Luckily, we're very fortunate to have both grandmothers around and they will watch them occasionally. And I'm like, I could have very easily asked for help so I could simply shower and not be stinky. Um, yeah. And so we come up with these like reasons. And usually when we like dig at them, it goes back to this feeling of not being enough. Okay. So I'll stop harping so much on mindset, but it's so important and I could talk about it a lot more. And I do want to move into the goal of today. Okay. So knowing that mindset is a really big portion, and also knowing that we're going to walk away with a lot more tangible things that you can do in order to actually feel, I would say full, feel totally able to take this role on. So you are capable and you are able to go about it with very specific tips and strategies that you can apply. Okay, so we'll jump in a little bit more in depth, talking more about nutrition today. The topic is all day energy. Okay, so if you were feeling like, no, I don't feel any energy, I have that crash, or maybe you're hungry, or maybe you're falling off the weekends. Okay, by the end of today, you'll know what enough looks like as far as nutrition. No one can answer what enough is personally on that mindset level, but we'll talk about nutrition. We'll talk about how to time things, specifically foods throughout the day, carbs, protein, etc., in order to lower stress because they actually go hand in hand. And we'll talk about some specific upgrades to make this week. So tangible things that you can walk away and do right away. Okay. The last thing before we jump in, did you have any wins from yesterday? So every day, and today I haven't posted it yet, but it will be day two. Otherwise, it'll look pretty much the same. It'll say day two, and I'll post all of the activities. I'll post the links from today, and I'll put it in the thread below. But I'd love to see, especially you all, because you're here live, and if you're watching the replay, I'd love to hear from you as well. What were your takeaways? So I'll say today's takeaways in a little bit, but yesterday's takeaways. What was your morning domino? What was your evening downshift? So, to quickly explain that if you didn't hear it or don't remember, the morning domino is the one thing you're going to do in the morning to start your day off right. And then it's a domino effect, right? Everything kind of continues building in a positive way from there. So, my morning domino every morning, non negotiable, is I drink about one of these. It may or may not be in my big blue cup. It might be in something else, but I like to drink at least 30 ounces of water. Okay. And that's my morning domino. My evening downshift. And to explain that, your evening downshift is what are you going to do to chill out in the evening, to start to wind down, to transition from go, 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 busy, busy into a restful state where you can shift down and fall asleep more easily without your mind racing. I'll be very honest. I went to bed at 8:54 last night because showing up and doing these events and I'm an introvert and like even though I'm not in a room full of people, it still takes a lot out of me. And then yesterday, very specifically, my kids, the moment I was done, they're like, "Mom, are you in mom mode yet?" I'm like, "Oh gosh." So transitioning really quickly to that. So my downshift was after the kids went to bed, I truly didn't do anything. And I went to bed. I went to bed before 9 o'clock because I was very tired. So hopefully you had a better like transition than I did. I just kind of crashed. But yeah, transition. Took some time in the evening to unwind. Great. I love that. I love to hear it. So with today, again, remember I talk in stories. I like to use your words. So I'm curious if you've thought any of these things before. Skipping breakfast. I have less calories, so I'm going to speed up fat loss. I'm going to skip breakfast. I won't have those extra, whatever, two, three, 400 calories. I'm going to lose weight quicker. Could be true for lunch, by the way, as well. Or I can't eat that. It'll make me fat. Okay. I should eat in the range of 12 to 1400 calories. Like that's my maintenance. I can only eat that, otherwise I will gain weight. Or perhaps more hit exercising burns more fat. So I should just do really high intensity running, stairmaster, elliptical, or like specifically hit exercises, which are like a lot of like burpees or mountain climbers or things like that. So those can burn more fat, they burn more calories, right? So those are very common misconceptions, and I'm going to bust through every one of these today, and I'm going to explain generally, not necessarily for each of you at this point in your life, but in general, what to do instead. So these are those red flags, and I'm bringing them up again because there's a couple more now that like we're digging in a little bit more. I've already talked about these, like you're wired at night, the 2 p.m. crash, strong sugar cravings is another one. But if you feel like when you exercise the next day you're sore and you're sore for 4 days, or when you exercise you just feel like it doesn't actually give you more energy, it makes you feel more exhausted. So generally exercise should actually feel good. It should feel more energizing. But more specifically, because knowing, if you didn't know, let me tell you, I come from a functional medicine background. And what that means is I do lab tests. We can look at hormone levels, we can look at thyroid levels, we can look at gut health levels. We can go into parasites if you wanted to look at parasites. Those are some of the different metrics that I run for people. Food sensitivity is another one, heavy metals is another one. And these are some of the warning signs that I see. And truly, I've actually been running a lot fewer tests in the last month because I've been diving into symptoms more. So people that tell me I have no appetite in the morning, I am not hungry. That's a big red flag to me. That tells me, oh, your metabolisms might be crashed, it might be bottomed out. Or cold hands also, or cold in general, all the time, cold hands and feet. Your metabolism's slow. And that is something to be concerned about when you're trying to lose weight, when you're trying to, particularly that belly section, particularly those, yeah, trying to lose weight in that area. Hair shedding is another one, particularly like the front of your hair. But if you're losing a lot of hair throughout the day, that could be a thyroid imbalance. That goes back to metabolism as well. Mood swings, up and down, whether it's really heavy anxiety or on the other hand, depression, anxiety, depression, or just irritable and snappy all the time. Like you just can't calm your attitude. Mood swings are definitely usually associated, let me not say definitely, usually associated with not getting enough food. And lastly, belly fluff. That midsection, you've been eating well and you're still seeing belly fluff, whether it's midsection weight, just bloating, anything around that belly area. Okay. So here's what to do instead. You'll want to grab out your workbook. There's a plate on there, a picture. It is not filled in. This is how I want you to fill it in. So if you look, lean protein and specifically lean. So I don't want you to get like a fatty ribeye. and call that protein, or like ground beef, the fattier versions, call those protein. Honestly, sometimes pork can be on the fattier end, so pork I don't always include. So lean protein. What is lean protein? That's chicken. Generally, chicken breast is going to be the leanest. Chicken thighs are a little fattier, but it's like generally chicken is good. Most seafood is good. Shrimp, for example, is really good. Fish, if you're calling that seafood, like in the category, it's not a shellfish, but that's still in the sea. So fish, especially things like salmon, mackerel, tuna, I like put an asterisk around it because tuna can have high mercury, but tuna is good. It does have a lot of protein. It is lean protein, but there's a lot of other fishes as well. Uh, I live in Maryland. If you aren't familiar with what we do really well, we do crabs, not football so much recently, but we apparently at some point have done football really well. So crab cakes and football, that's what we're known for. So crab, yeah, crab's a protein as well. Scallops, like those things that you can generally get from the sea. But turkey, honestly, ground beef can be a good one. Just the leaner cuts of it. Lots of choices for lean protein. The the other one that we're going to talk a lot about today are carbohydrates. Carbohydrates should be on your plate for just about everyone. There's an asterisk because sometimes I have people not always include carbs at all three meals, and that's a very specific scenario. But I would say for the majority of people, you should have some sort of carbs on your plate. How many carbs depends on your weight, depends on your goals, but I would say at least half a cup of carbs. Okay. What do carbs look like? That can look different as well. Protein's like the easy one. You're like, I know what protein looks like. Um, Carbs look different. So what we think of as carbs is generally pasta, is generally bread. We generally will gravitate towards those things, but those are more processed. They tend to come from less nutritious sources like white bread and white pasta is not as full of nutrients as a sweet potato, for example. They have very similar calories, but a sweet potato is going to actually help you feel fuller longer. It's going to have more minerals and vitamins, and it's going to be a better choice. So it's a smart carb. Gluten-free grains can be a really great choice as well. I wouldn't say plain white rice is a great carb, but wild rice is a better choice. Brown rice or jasmine rice, like things that have other nutrients in the profile, those are good choices. So gluten-free grains could also be things like quinoa, could also be things like um, even like buckwheat could be in there. I don't know if you've ever had buckwheat. Lentils can kind of cross over in between both protein and like a gluten-free grain. Those are some good choices there. Starchy veggies can kind of go hand in hand. Carrots fall into starchy veggie category, as well as potatoes, sweet potatoes, beets, like generally root veggies, things that grow in the ground and can store long time over the winter. Those are starchy veggies. So lots of choices here, but they should show up on your plate. And the last one, I think I will mention it here, but as I move forward, I'm not giving a lot of attention to it today. And I will say this is probably for most people, you're also not getting enough fibrous veggies. I should move carrots over here as I'm looking at it. But fibrous veggies, definitely looking at any leafy greens, any broccoli, any sort of like cabbage, cauliflower, kale. Those are all great leafy greens. Most people aren't getting enough. 2 cups. That's a lot. It's a lot of food, but it's also really important for nutrients, getting enough of the right nutrients, getting enough fiber to like move things through. That is super crucial. So you want to make sure you get plenty of veggies and fiber. I'm not diving into it too much today, but I want to emphasize that here. What you don't see on this plate, because it's hard to show it, fat is included. Healthy fats are included. This is avocado oil or avocados, olive oil. Those are my two go-tos, but dressings and sauces tend to fall under fats as well. Now, your thumb is not very big. It's about the size of a tablespoon. That's the serving size for fats. So, for example, I usually put like a drizzle of olive oil over my broccoli. Tastes amazing, first of all, but that's where I would allocate my fats. Or if I'm cooking, roasting things on a pan, I might add the oil onto that. You need all of these in those rough portions for a balanced plate. And this is really key. It's in your workbook, like places for you to fill out. It's in the picture for you to fill out there as well if you prefer. But here's what it does. It regulates your blood sugar. It keeps you full and it doesn't make your blood sugar spike up. Like those glucose monitors, like you see a lot of people, even coaches are telling their clients who aren't diabetic or pre-diabetic, it's like, oh, we'll just monitor your glucose. I First of all, I hate needles, so like I don't want to like add anything in that looks like a needle, but I don't think they're necessary to get a continuous glucose monitor if you are focusing on the right foods. This is what foods should look like. If you're focusing in on that 80% of the time, like you're golden. You're going to make progress. You're going to heal your body. You're going to see fat loss. You're going to do all of these things. Not only will you see it physically, but you're going to see it mentally. You're going to actually calm down your nervous system because you're not always seeking the next meal because you're not full. You're not hungry, is what I should say. You are full. You've satiated yourself. You're not like seeking something else. So those cravings gone. That energy crash gone. If you are eating this on a consistent basis, and also managing that like mindset, that stress piece. Okay. So what I see is most people have a busy life and like I'm talking in a perfect world, here's what this should do. But when we're busy and we skip the meals or we eat the foods that we know we shouldn't eat and we eat them on a continual basis. I'm not saying like you went out to dinner last week and you had dessert one time. Like, okay, great. Like that's okay. But when this is happening, like I would say at least every day or every other day, you are falling into these routines and patterns, and it's not a positive thing. So skipping meals and or eating the like less ideal meals, this is going to drain your energy. Calories are simply a measurement of energy. So if you're not eating enough calories, your body is simply going to go into survival mode even 100, 200, 300 years ago, I wouldn't, and truly even today, not everyone is food secure. People go days sometimes without eating. And what that does, and it really did this in our like ancestors' history, we would have feast or famine. We would have periods of famine where maybe the hunter-gatherers didn't have any food, or we had winter and we just didn't have any food accessible, or maybe we were nomads and couldn't find, I don't know, couldn't find the animals to hunt. And so we were in these famine stages and we would have to store fat. And then we would find food and we would eat a lot and we would go back and store it for later in case there was a famine. So we were in survival mode because if we didn't eat, we would starve. Now we are in the lovely year of 2025 and we could go to any fast food restaurant and eat a week's worth of calories in a single meal. And that is not what our body is used to. Okay, so it is very different in today's day and age. And it's really hard to be disciplined when all this delicious food's around you, but it's still putting us in this survival mode. We're still stressed. We're still thinking like I'm not getting enough. Perhaps you're not eating enough. And so your body is still going to hold on to fat just like it did 1,000 years ago or whenever, and you're not burning fat, even though you're exercising. And it doesn't look like you're exercising, even though you're walking every day. Doesn't feel like it because you're not losing any weight. Even though you're eating food and you're trying to, I don't know, get the right protein and get all the water. If you're not being very strategic in how you are eating, you're just going to hold on to fat. And what happens is actually kind of scary. You actually consume muscle before, like your body will preferentially break down muscle before breaking down fat because fat is linked to survival. Muscle, especially for women, truly, we don't need to run away. We've got these like big men in the tribe that are going to protect us, right? We need fat in order to reproduce, and we need fat in order to like just continue surviving, not thriving here. We just need it to survive. So our body will break down muscle before we break down fat if you are not getting enough protein, if you are not getting enough carbohydrates. And that's a little like, oh, like, you might not have known that, but new information to help you flip this framework of how we think about eating food. So let's go into specifics here. This is not in your workbook, but there is space for notes. So this might be something that you write down. So here's what honestly, people come in, they're like, here's what I'm eating right now. They're eating either way too much or eating way too little. There's never a happy medium of like, oh yeah, you're eating really good, keep going, because that's not the people that are reaching out to me to get support, right? So this is what people like, oh yeah, I'm eating really healthy. So I'm calling you out. If you're like, yeah, I'm doing all the things, I'm eating really healthy. This is might be what your meals look like. So if your calories are probably somewhere at the 1200 mark. And truly, some of my clients actually start here, but this is not what their day looks like, I'll tell you. So breakfast is like coffee and nothing. Like there is no fuel. We're just living on coffee and fumes in the morning, getting out the door. Lunch, we're having salad with some grilled chicken on it, or like a Caesar salad like this. But there's no actual carbs there, maybe besides your croutons. There's there are veggies, like very kind of bland veggies that don't have a ton of nutrition. Chicken, great, you got some protein, but you're not having anything to help you with that lasting energy. Then you're hungry in the afternoon, right? And you're going to be very good. You're going to have your 100-calorie pack of whatever that comes in a package and it says 100 calories. So you're like, yeah, I'm good. Great. Um, but you're still hungry. So dinner either looks one of two ways. You might have like your small portions of things. You're like, but I added a vegetable. I'm doing good. Maybe you didn't get enough calories that day, so you're still hungry. And you're like trying to be like, well, I'm being really good. And then maybe that weekend comes along and you like binge out and you overeat and you have something that looks like that. And it's 3,000 calories in a sitting. Pizza, right? Pizza, chicken nuggets, wings, hot dogs, burgers, whatever. Um, that's usually what I see is people are like, I've been eating really healthy. And when we dig in, there are a lot of holes in what they are saying. It's leading to crashing, it's leading to cravings. They are not able to fall asleep at night. Then they binge on the weekends, right? So there are some ways to improve this. Okay, let's dig into what it could look like. And I didn't put pictures of everything, and this isn't like a perfectly like, perfect plate because I took this at dinner the other night and I was like, I'll include this. But here's what enough looks like. So breakfast, you wake up, maybe you have a smoothie, maybe you have water to start your day. I honestly don't care if you drink coffee. Have the coffee, but have the food that is actually going to nourish you first. Okay, drink water first. For lunch, this might include a salad, but I want there to be some carbohydrates there. So maybe a salad with quinoa on it, like a loaded Buddha bowl. You have some good fats in there. It's not just like highly processed, high calorie dressing, but maybe you do olive oil and vinegar or like olive oil and lemon juice or something like that. That protein absolutely can be chicken. I have no problem with chicken, but let's have a variety. Let's include things like salmon or shrimp or tofu, even like switch it up throughout the week. When we have our snack, I I will always say this. I always come from a whole foods approach. Generally, we should eat things that we can identify. So whatever is in that 100-calorie pack is more on the processed end. I don't tend to recommend processed food. I would say like occasionally, like having a flex meal, having like a something outside of our ordinary routine, no problem. But for our regular snacks, if you are hungry, load up on more fiber, load up on some good fats, load up on some extra protein instead of just getting your like empty carbohydrates there, if that makes sense. And then for dinner, again, this is a big full meal. And that's actually what I had over here. So I had this was steamed broccoli, not roasted broccoli, but I had both sweet potatoes and purple potatoes. Those were from our local farm. And so I had potatoes, I had chicken. That was lemon pepper like seasoning that I put on there, which was delicious. And then what you don't see, because it's hard to see, but it was there, I have olive oil on my broccoli. Okay, what this translates to, maybe not in the very beginning. And some of my clients, like truly, we probably are at like 1,400 or 1,500 calories throughout the day. But the goal at maybe month two, three, four of working together is to get up to eating enough calories. I want you at a maintenance calorie or potentially a higher calorie in order to build muscle, rev up your metabolism, and keep that going. Different people are at different phases. Obviously, everyone needs a kind of a customized approach, but you should be eating a real 2000 roughly calorie maintenance diet. Like that is the eventual goal. What that like translates to is steady energy, just all day. You feel energized, you're able to keep going. When you go to sleep, you sleep deeply, you wake up refreshed, you finish a workout and aren't sore for days, you feel like you can recover. And when we look at hormones, like say we did a lab test, hormones are balanced. They're not all over the place. They're not low. That stress is not consuming you. And we see that as cortisol. Like we have balanced hormones, and then our body is able to heal. So, like bloating and discomfort, that's gone. Even acne, that's like hormonal, that's gone. That mood is much more stable. So, hormones relate to a lot of other symptoms, and we see that show up through our food. Like we heal ourselves through our food. So, as we kind of I don't know. I don't want to say wrap this part up, but like transitioning, I want to give you some very specific, like here's the doable things to get there. Protein targets. If you were to calculate it, it's roughly zero point 0.7 to 1 gram per pound per body weight of your goal body weight. So for example, you weigh 200 pounds and you want to weigh 150 pounds, your goal body weight is 150 pounds, not 200. You could also kind of give a rough estimate. This is probably 30 to 40 grams per meal, maybe a little less in the morning, a little more at dinner. It doesn't have to be perfect, but probably over 100 grams of protein. A lot of people come into me and they're like, yeah, I ate 50 grams of protein all day. I'm like, yeah, not enough. Like, we got to bump that up. Doesn't have to be 200 grams of protein a day. That's also unsustainable, but having real protein at every meal is important. Helps you feel fuller, it breaks down slower, supports your muscle, and stabilizes your blood sugar. All right, carb rules, because carbs are probably the bigger focus for today. Carbs are not the enemy. A lot of people think they are, and I think keto diets are very popular right now. But the thing is, our body can go through ketosis. It's going to burn fat. It only works, number one, while you aren't eating carbs. So as soon as you eat carbs again, you gain it all back. And your body only should go through ketosis for a maximum of 3 to 6 weeks. And then you start eating your muscles, like you're consuming your muscles instead of consuming fat. When you eat carbs, eating them with protein and with fiber is really important because then you don't get a glucose spike. And eating whole food carbs, like I said before, is good. But I don't think you need to deprive yourself. I don't think you need to be like perfect with your diet to see success either. There is room for flexibility and there is room for dessert and there is room for fun, but it needs to look balanced. Whoop, going the wrong direction. The last thing I want to mention, because it's not in a food group, I guess, but it is also important, is hydration is key. Fatigue is when we're dehydrated often. So if you're not drinking enough water throughout the day, or also getting electrolytes if you're working out, like you want to make, or sweating if it's still summer, you want to make sure that you are hydrating well. So we're going to do this. We're going to pause for a moment, and I want to do a quick audit on, are you eating enough? So do this for me and then pop your score. You can send it right to me. You can pop it right into the chat. Give yourself a point for every yes you said. You can only get 4 points. So this is a quick one. So number one, did each meal have at least 20 grams of protein, but ideally closer to 30 or 40? Did you include a smart carb most meals over the last week? And that would be all 3 meals, by the way. Did you eat within an hour-ish of waking up? And did you eat 3 meals throughout the day, including the right portions of carbs? Okay, so do a quick adding. Oh, I see a 0. Okay, so we have some work to do, right? You have some places to focus on now. Okay, love it. Thank you for being honest. But now you have like an area of focus. So getting a little more protein, adding in those carbs, like eating food. Eating food that's nourishing. Absolutely. So I see a two. I see a one. Okay. So we have some work to do, ladies. And the good news is it's totally possible. It does require some focus, right? It's not like just magic, voila, the perfect plate appears, but it also doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be a full overhaul. It's just adding in some intention here. All right, so I see a two. Okay. Thank you for letting me know where you're at. Okay. Here are, again, I'm telling this in stories because I think it's easier to understand. Here's what I hear when you give me a 0, 1, 2. I feel like I'm doing everything right, but I don't know what's going on. I'm still exhausted. I'm still not losing weight. Here, maybe this explains why you are seeing that. Here's why you have crashed every afternoon and you need that extra tall grande latte, whatever, in order to just keep going. Here's why your stress is out of control and you have no energy, no matter what you do. Here's why the inflammation's there. Here's why the bloating's there. Now you have a better idea of what's causing it is you aren't coming from a nourished place. If you've been trying all the diets and nothing's working long term and you're always ending up back where you started, it's because your body is actually starving. That's why. Because what you're doing is not sustainable for the long term. Sustainable for the long term means eating real food. It means eating food that your body actually craves and needs and supporting your body with food. That is what you need. I know I need to take better care of myself. I just can't figure it out. And I get you there. So I know you're here for a reason. You're here watching this being like, I know I need to do better. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to do the best I can and that's why I'm here. And so obviously knowing the things we just went over, that's a really good start. The next part is putting it into action. The next part is showing up and doing little steps every day to move you in the right direction. And that part is hard. It's not the big overhaul because we get excited, we get like oh shiny new things, right? And there's something to focus on and there's something to maybe distract ourselves with and it works for a couple weeks. And I know that when life gets busy, it gets harder. And when you have to keep, I don't know, showing up and doing the little things, the boring things every day, it's not as exciting maybe as it was in the beginning, but it's just as essential. And that's part of the mindset shift. I talked about it in the beginning. I'm going to bring it up again. That mindset shift of I deserve to eat really good food that helps me feel good. I deserve to take time in my day to get lunch, even when my work is demanding and I'm so busy that I want to work through lunch. I deserve to wake up 10 minutes earlier in the morning because I need to prepare breakfast. And I deserve to go to bed at an hour at night so I feel refreshed when I actually wake up 10 minutes earlier, right? Like you can do these things. Yeah, you can do these things. It is hard. And this is kind of that deep fear. When I tell you you should eat 2,000 calories, a lot of people kind of like recoil and they're like, oh, I don't know. I can't eat that. I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to get fat if I eat more. My clients like and typically this is what I call phase three for them. And I'll explain more about the phases tomorrow when we go through the action plan. So that's coming up tomorrow. But I have like phase 1, 2, 3, and 4 during my program. Sometimes we get to a phase five, but that's usually if clients sign on and we're working together for longer than 4 months. But usually in the first 4 months, we go through three phases. So the first phase is basically getting rid of inflammation. That's the first phase. Phase two is reintroducing foods strategically and continuing to focus on whole foods, but like dialing it in. And then did I say phase two? Phase three is when for just about everyone, phase three is when we reverse diet. And for a lot of people, we start at a slight calorie deficit because we're trying to lose fat. And reverse diet means that we increase the calories so we increase our metabolism. And we've been working together usually at this time for 3 to 4 months. And they're like, I can't do that. I'm going to gain weight. I'm like, you need to trust me. Trust me. If you eat more, you're not getting fat. That's not what the goal is. Eating more is to fuel your body. Eating more is to balance your hormones. Eating more is to help you be healthier, not to gain weight. And that, even though my clients have been working with me for months and they get it and they're seeing results, they still don't like it's still hard. That's super ingrained in us. So this one is a tough one, but it's something that's like, oh, it will actually work. Okay, so summarizing what I'm saying, if you want to lose the stress weight, here's what you got to do. You got to eat more whole foods and eat in the right amounts. You got to eat meals, 3 meals a day at a consistent time throughout the day. We have to eat to fuel your body, not to fuel your emotions. And that one I know is hard. And then sometimes, and I'm not chatting this today, we're not going into this depth today, but perhaps supplementing in the short term if you need to, and that can be helpful as well for certain people. So I've been chatting like, here's what you should do. I want to talk about a couple of things that my clients have done and then kind of where we're going from here. So these were early. These were like in the first couple weeks. They would see pretty quick weight loss, right? So I like to show numbers because it's like it's really easy to track numbers. Like 11 pounds in 13 days, 4.6 pounds in 11 days, 8 pounds in 5 weeks. Like, yes, that's great. That's forward momentum, right? But the non-scale victories are also really important. So they also like it's not about the number on the scale. It's about how we feel. I did a detox. I really need it. I actually lost 11 pounds and now I'm getting in the groove. It feels good. I'm down 5 pounds, but I've stuck to it. I've been taking care of myself. I've been preparing myself for success. So that's actually way more important to me than any old number on the scale. So feeling better, we're feeling less stressed, right? Oh, going in the wrong direction. So this was one earlier in the summer. Like I took out all my summer clothes and I usually would have to throw everything away, but you're working magic here because everything actually fits comfortably. Feeling like your clothes fit, that is progress. Doesn't matter what the scale says. The scale could actually say zero change. And yet you could see success because your clothes are feeling better. You're seeing body recomposition, liking what you see in the mirror, right? And sometimes you lose weight quickly and then you plateau and we switch gears and we switch tactics until it works. Okay. This is one, and I got this one recently because Megan started working with me at the end of April. By June 6th, she had already lost 20 pounds. Her mindset changed. It's not just about the weight, it's about learning how to fuel your body with the right nutrients, how to work out to build muscle, and ensure that I'm set up for success. So even here, she's saying, like, not my words, she's saying that she now knows how to fuel her body with the right nutrients. That is so key. That's the goal, right? We want to make sure we're fueling correctly. So, and I asked this question yesterday, but some of you are new here. I always say, like, would you rather, guess and figure it out? This is what I did for like probably over multiple years. Would you want to guess on your own? I gave you some tips here. You want to like, spitball, or would it be helpful to spend 30 minutes with me for free? So here's how I can help you. I'm offering, and I'll put the link in the chat in just a moment. I'm gonna give you two links. I'm offering a metabolic rehab assessment. What this is, it is a phone call. On the phone call, we're going to go through 10 quick questions. It's like kind of a quiz, kind of like the ones we've been doing, the quick audits on here, but more in depth. And I'm going to give you feedback like, hey, you scored a 3. Like, wow, that's a really low score. Here's why you aren't seeing success with your goals, right? Putting it into exactly your goals, putting it into exactly what you are doing in order to make it click. And then if it makes sense, we can chat about my program. Or if not, you can also walk away and be like, yeah, here's what I need to work on, right? Giving you very clear and concrete ways to take action. The other thing, and that's what I just said. The other thing I want to share with you, and I'll throw these links in the chat in just a second. You got it yesterday. Today's like the second day, it's officially open. This is what I'm teaching very in depth in my metabolic rehab protocol. That's the name of my group coaching program. It's the 16-week program, it is a customized program where you get exactly those steps, exactly what to do, exactly how to do it. When it's time to be in a calorie deficit versus increase calories, I tell you all of these things. I help you figure out the exercises that make sense for you. Sometimes it's just walking. Sometimes it's 4 or 5 days a week of strength training, and those differ for every person. Those portions where I mentioned carbs could be half a cup, it could be 1.5 cups. Protein, how much protein? All of that is figured out for you, along with what I mentioned earlier as well, that online course component to really address the mindset. And that part is key because if you don't switch your mindset, then you go right back to square one, which is what I don't want. I want everyone to continue seeing those, even if it's baby steps, but still steps forward. So you are always working toward that healthier, happiest version of yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and put the links into the chat. It'll let me. So here's the link for the group coaching. And then, ooh, I got to get did we freeze? Oh, capture. We did freeze. Lovely. Oh no. Escape. That's not working either. There we go. It was like taking a screen capture. That's not fun. The other one, metabolic health assessment. So the first link is the group program. The second link is the metabolic health assessment. That's a one-on-one free call to go over what's going on. Cool. I love technology. Technology is loving me this week, I guess. All right. So moving into workshop time. Let me check the time. Man, I did that. I like it when it's just an hour. That's exactly my goal every time. I'm going to stay on here for another 15 to 20 minutes, hanging out with you. I want to give you time to apply what you just learned. So, as a teacher, this is how I would actually run my classroom. I would give a lesson and then I would give essentially workshop time. It would be like, here's actual time to apply it. So, in your workbook, there's a page to say, here are 3 balanced meals you can make this week. I want you to actually write out something that you will actually eat, perhaps for dinner tonight, and put it into your workbook. Okay. So, what are 3 meals you can make this week? There are a few other entries, right? So, it's not just meals, but how are you going to snack? How are you going to start your day? How are you going to wind down at night? So, those are in there also. Um, yeah, but I didn't include them here. So I'll pull up my screen. I'll share my screen to the workbook and we'll go through those too because I'm actually doing this. I'm making my menu for the week. Here's some ideas if you don't know where to get started. Number one, send a question in the chat. That's why I'm here. I'm here to support you. So, hey, I'm not sure what to make. Would this make sense? Yeah, absolutely. Or no, I would add this. So ask me questions. Use this time to ask. You could also go onto Pinterest or Google or ChatGPT and be like, provide 3 balanced meals for me for the week. Inputting whatever your favorite lean protein is, your favorite vegetable, your favorite smart carb, okay, and build it from there. Or you could go back into your notes if you took notes and use those as well. Okay, so those are some ideas of where to get started. Maybe you find some menus, maybe you find some recipes, and print them out or add them onto your grocery list, and you could go from there. I'm going to hang out. I'm going to put some music on. I'll leave the chat open. So if you have questions, feel free to ask. Let me see. Tomorrow, before I stop recording, tomorrow's day 3. So we're going to plan out the next 90 days. It's at 2 times. It's at 2 o'clock Eastern time and 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. And I will also, I'm actually going to do it now. I'm going to comment on the accountability post. So I'm going to ask you to, I'll make the accountability post. I want you to comment on it and yeah, tell me what you are doing for a balanced meal. That's going to be your accountability. You can also do it in the chat here. With that, tomorrow we will chat the next 90 days. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and I will see you all tomorrow.